Well. Welcome to the show, everybody. You're listening to Beyond Reason Radio, live exclusively on BeyondReasonRadio.com. That's right, I announced that last week we wouldn't be on WFLA anymore, but we would be broadcasting live at 8 p.m. We're going to do it Mondays and Fridays at 8 p.m. live on BeyondReasonRadio.com. And don't forget, I am working on an app, the Beyond Reason Radio app, which you will be able to get all the podcasts so you can listen anytime you want, or you can listen to the live show as well. So that'll be pretty cool. And I am joined by executive producer, Mr. Michael Formasano, who is here as well. How you doing, Mike? Gotta push the button. You're pushing. Are you, Mike? Main control, Mike, all the way to the left.
How's that sound?
There you go.
There we go.
He's trying to periscope and do the show at the same time.
I only have two hands, but somehow I make it work.
Now, how do they find us on Periscope, by the way?
Basically, it works off of Twitter. So you can go to Periscope, download the app in either the App Store or the Android Store, whatever that's called, because I'm an Apple person. And you just search Periscope. You can download it. It's very simple. It works based off of social media. So I am logged in with my Twitter account. So you just need to search Radio Michael 7. At Radio Michael 7, you can find me on Twitter. I'm actually broadcasting right now. And you can watch the show live.
Awesome. And I need to download that for the next show. So yeah, so we got that. We're live on Ustream.tv. If you want to go to that website, it's all the easiest way is just go to my website, BeyondReasonRadio.com. We're on Ustream.tv. We're also on Spreaker.com, broadcasting live there as well. The Beyond Reason Radio app will be available next week. So we got a lot of big things coming to the show. We have more shows coming up. We're going to do a lot here. And by the way, the show is brought to you by Doc's Streetside Grill. If you support the show and you support me, please help support my sponsor, Doc's Streetside Grill. It's on 1315 West Orange Avenue. They have great food. The other day I had a margarita flatbread. That's what I had. It was really good. It was awesome, just like everything else is there. So I'm going to talk about that more. They are the official sponsor of our online radio show, Beyond Reason Radio. So Mike, I have an idea. I'm going to get into this serious stuff in just a minute. Everyone wants to hear my comments on the Oregon shooting. Everyone wants to hear my comments on what Obama said. Everyone wants to hear my comments on gun control, and I'm going to get into all of that. So don't worry, sit tight. We have an hour. It's good, still an hour show. So sit tight as we get into that. But to all my Beyond Reason Radio listeners, I have an idea, and I want you guys to get involved in the show. This is a smart talk radio for the millennial generation, and I want you to give your take. And this is how I want you to do it. You've all probably seen my little videos where I do 5 seconds or whatever, and I'm like, it's beyond reason. And then I say something that's beyond reason. It lasts like 10 seconds, 15 seconds. I want you to do that. I want you to do a video. You can do it on your phone. You all have smartphones. I know you do. If you don't have one, you should probably get one. Probably join the 21st century. But anyways, I want you to make a little video of yourself, and I want you to tell me what you think is beyond reason. I want you to submit a little video of yourself. What you can do is go to my Facebook page. That's facebook.com/Beyond Reason Radio, or just search Beyond Reason Radio on Facebook and submit a video. Message me a video or post it on my wall of you telling me what you think is beyond reason. And you just record yourself, start the video and say, what's beyond reason, Yaffee? And then you say it. And I'm going to pick the best videos and I'm going to play them on the show. So we're going to do that. So I want a bunch of you out there to submit videos, something that you think, it can be anything, as long as you keep it clean, can be anything, and submit what you think is beyond reason. Submit it to the show. Go to facebook.com/Beyond Reason Radio, submit your video, and tell me what you think's going on. I want to know your take. So we're doing this online thing. I want to reach the millennial generation. I want to reach you, and this is how I feel is the best way to reach you. So we got some exciting things going on. We're not going anywhere. We're going to grow. We're going to build. And I encourage you to help us do that. Share with your friends, all that stuff. I know a lot of you like the show. Share it. So we're doing that. Okay. Now, unfortunately, some serious news, not the best news this week, not something I was looking forward to having to talk about again. But we had another mass shooting at a school. It was a community college in Oregon. This 26-year-old punk decided he was going to kill people. Not only that, he decided he was going to target Christians. And he basically asked people their religion. And if they were Christian, if they said they were Christian, he shot them in the head, killed them. They said they weren't, he shot them in the legs. Unbelievable. Christians. And, he said, oh, you're a Christian? Good, 'cause you're about to meet your maker. You know what? People like you, people like ISIS, people attacking Christianity, you can't win. You can't beat us. Because, fine, kill us, fine. We don't want you to kill us, but you know what? The Bible says to live is Christ and to die is gain. So if we die, we go see our maker. And one day, and you know what, punk? You're dead now, and I'm sure you had to just see your maker, and I bet that didn't go well for you. I bet you're regretting exactly what you did. But Christians, at least when they get killed, they can look forward to seeing their maker. They can look forward to seeing their savior. They can look forward to spending eternity with their savior, Jesus Christ. So you can't win. You can't beat us. But what happened was sick. And of course, Mike, if you get that Obama cut ready for me, of course, Obama came out. And this happens immediately. I go on Twitter every time something like this happens, and it's always the first reaction of people, which I think is beyond reason. The first reaction of people is always to have the government take away more of our liberty. Why is it? Every time there's a tragedy like this, the knee-jerk reaction is, oh, we have to have the government take away more of our liberty. And it's not just with mass shootings. You have like terrorist attacks. Our reaction is to have the government take away more of our liberty with the NSA or whatever. This is our reaction. We think that's a good thing. It's not a good thing. We're supposed to be a free country. But we talk gun control, and some people think it's too early to politicize this. But the president did not think so. And this is what the president had to say about that.
And of course, what's also routine is that somebody somewhere will comment and say, Obama politicized this issue. Well, this is something we should politicize. It is relevant to our common life together, to the body politic.
All right. So, he says it's something we should politicize. So fine, I'm going to politicize it. He wants more gun control. He says we need more gun control. He says that's the thing that's going to stop these mass shootings. Tell me, I hear everywhere on Twitter, everywhere I hear. How do we stop this? How do we stop this mass shooting? We need gun control. We need gun sense. Hashtag gun sense. What gun control specifically would have stopped this killing? Somebody tell me. I never hear that. I never hear exactly what gun control would have stopped this. Because they don't have an answer. Because there is no answer. It's a knee-jerk reaction. And you want to know what Obama really wants. You don't want to know what the left really wants. They talk about, oh, well, they don't have things. This doesn't happen in Europe, which is a lie. All we had to do was look at the shooting at, what was the name of that magazine in France?
It was
where they had the Muhammad cartoon.
Yeah, Charles
Hebdo,
yeah.
Right? They don't have guns in France, and none of them, not even the police didn't even have guns in that situation. Did that stop that mass shooting? No. They have strict gun laws in Norway. Not too long ago, they had a huge mass shooting on an island in Norway, the biggest mass shooting in 100 years, I think. They don't have a solution for this. But the goal of the left, the goal of Obama, is to confiscate your guns. Because they talk about what's going on in Europe, Australia. We should be like Australia. In Australia, they confiscated the guns. That's what they did. And that's what they want to do. is confiscate your guns. You're right. Your liberty. Some people might think that's a good thing. Let me tell you something. If they tried that, you want real violence in this country? You want practically a civil war in this country? Try confiscating people's guns. There's 350 million guns in this country. Millions of people have guns in this country. They're not going to put up with the government confiscating their guns. It's not going to happen. I'm sorry. If you try to confiscate guns, it's just not going to be good. You want to see real violence. That would be the quickest way to real violence. So we have that. Some of the best comments I heard this week. I actually heard this. This is from O'Reilly. Bill O'Reilly on his show after Obama's speech came out and said something. And I think his comments really hit home. Actually, I think he listens to this show and listens to me because it's basically what I've been saying forever on this show and on Bud's show. This is exactly what I've been saying. I swear these people listen to the show, Mike. I swear O'Reilly does, Beck does, Rush does. They say things that...
they must realize how beyond reason it is as well, and
exactly.
Listen to the voice.
I'm almost surprised they don't say, it's beyond reason and just steal my line. Anyways, that would be awesome.
Well, that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah. But this is what O'Reilly had to say about this.
The police in America are reactive. They react to crimes. They're not proactive. They can't be. There's too many people here. There's 325 million people here. Okay? The city of New York, where I live, they've driven crime down, police have, by community policing and by being very vigilant about the bad guys. You, Mr. President, want to put drug dealers, big-time guys, back on the street because you consider that a nonviolent crime. Of course they traffic in narcotics, and of course they use guns. So we don't have any coordination here on the federal, state, and local level about guns. And you're not going to change the Second Amendment. I have a right to protect myself. All right? Because there are crazed animals like the guy in Oregon. There are people like that who will come after innocent people for no reason. And you're going to deny me protection? If I live out in a rural area like Douglas County, Oregon, where the nearest cop is 40 miles away, I can't have a gun in the house to protect my family? Come on. Now, reasonable gun control, the laws about registration, and you can't have an AK and all of that, reasonable people say yes. All right? But if you're going to have the law, enforce it. Put some teeth into it. Anybody in this country committing a crime with a firearm, 10-year mandatory prison term in a federal penitentiary. All gun crimes, federal crimes. That'll cut down on gun crime right away, but it'll never stop the individual nuts, ever. So let's be honest here about this and stop politicizing it.
I think he's right on. I do. I think he's right on. He said basically what I've been saying. I have a right to protect myself. It's the only way we can stop stuff like this from happening, is being able to protect ourselves, because you can't stop the criminals from getting the guns. But we can have a gun so we can protect ourselves, our person, our family, our homes. And he's right. There are cops who will tell you they want good people to have guns. Why? Because they can't be there. All they can do is react. But they can't be there. And he's just saying, look, I have a right to protect myself. See, Obama doesn't have to worry about this. He has Secret Service. If you're rich, you have armed security, all that stuff. They don't have to worry about this. But me, as an individual, I have to worry about this. I have to be able to protect myself. Of course, that's a big part of the Second Amendment. That's a big part of why the Second Amendment, we need it, and it's a good thing. Of course, the main reason we need it is because, well, people don't want to say this. We don't want to forget about this. But I tweeted out last night, the worst tragedies, The worst crimes against humanity that have happened in human history have been at the hands of tyrannical governments against their own people who had no way to defend themselves. The real reason why we have the Second Amendment, the real reason why we were supposed to be able to carry, was it was supposed to be a final check on the government. It was supposed to be a final check on the government. Because if the government got tyrannical, if they got really bad, and we say, oh, that can't happen. I tweeted that and someone tweeted back, what, like in the Roman Empire? Live in the 21st century. Dude, have you read about Nazi Germany? That was less than 100 years ago. Have you read about the Soviet Union? Have you read about cases of ethnic cleansing? Have you read about China? Have you read the brutal things they have done to their own people? It wasn't that long ago. Oh, it can't happen here. It has happened here. And in the next segment, I'm going to talk about that. The other thing I'm going to get to about this is I'm sick of doing all the stats about guns and everything. So I'm just going to tell you, he says we have a right to protect ourselves. I'm going to give you stories about how people use that right. You never hear the stories about the good people who had a gun and were able to save lives and stop bad things from happening because they had a gun. You never hear those stories, but it happens all the time. And it's happened locally, and I'm going to get to that. So we have a lot to talk about. I thank you all for listening. You're listening to Beyond Reason Radio exclusively at beyondreasonradio.com.
It would be beyond reason not to listen to Yaffee on your TuneIn Radio app. Download the app today and search Beyond Reason Radio.
Orlando's newest dining sensation, Doc's Streetside Grill, specializes in amazing flavors at prices you'll love. With special events and entertainment ranging from trivia to live bands to poker every evening, there's something for everyone. Doc's has amazing flavors that are always fresh. You know the motto, made today, bought yesterday. Doc's is located across from Orlando Regional Medical Center on South Orange Avenue. Check out DocStreetSideGrill.com for more info. Doc's is your prescription for good times. See you there.
Hey, this is Mike Yaffee from Buttheadinger Live and Beyond Reason Radio, and I have a question for you. Are you planning on taking any long road trips this summer? Well, I have the perfect tool for you to make that trip go by a little bit faster. What you want to do is download the iHeartRadio app. With the iHeartRadio app, you can find your favorite music stations or create your own custom station. Don't forget to look up your favorite talk show hosts. You can find that on there as well. Make sure to download the app today at iHeartRadio.com.
If an individual student athlete or team wins a high school state championship, it's an amazing thing.
And it goes in! It goes in!
It's also just the icing on the cake. That's because young people in Florida who participate in education-based athletics are already winners. Studies show that win or lose, participation helps to impart skills they can use to enjoy greater success in other areas of their lives. School sports teach the benefits of teamwork, the value of self-motivation, and the importance of accountability. They also help to foster stronger work habits and higher levels of self-esteem. In other words, the true value of school sports can't be measured in terms of wins or losses. If an individual or team goes to state, it's an incredible accomplishment. But regardless of the outcome, today's student athletes are already destined to go far. School sports, a winning part of a complete education. This message presented by the Florida High School Athletic Association and the Florida Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Hey, it's the Budman inviting you to join Yaffee and me for WFLA's next big presidential debate viewing party at Doc's Streetside Grill. Hillary and the Democrats debate Tuesday, October 13th. Come on in for dinner and some fun at 6, then stay for the debate and watch them squirm under the pressure. Doc's Streetside Grill, 1315 South Orange Avenue across from ORMC. More online at DocStreetSideGrill.com or call 407-841-3601. See you at Doc's for the Democrats debate Tuesday, October 13th.
If you miss any of the show, you can download the Beyond Reason podcast on iTunes. Now, back to Beyond Reason Radio.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You're listening to Beyond Reason Radio. This is the voice of reason, the voice of truth in a world that is beyond reason. This is Smart Talk Radio for the millennial generation. I am the conscience in your ear, in your headphones, telling you what's right and what's wrong. And I'm joined, of course, by executive producer Michael Formisano. And by the way, I put a call out there, everyone listening live, beyondreasonradio.com, or the podcast later. I want you to submit a video to the Facebook page. Go to Beyond Reason Radio, or go to facebook.com/Beyond Reason Radio. And I want you to tell me, via video, what you think is beyond reason. Tell me, what do you think is beyond reason? I do these little videos every day where I say, you know what's beyond reason? Today's video, I said, you know what's beyond reason? That every time there's a tragedy, our knee-jerk reaction is to have the government take away more of our liberty. That's the knee-jerk reaction now. Well, that's beyond reason. But I want you to submit via the Facebook page what you think is beyond reason.
Hashtag voice of the millennials.
Yes, hashtag voice of the millennials. I like that.
It just has a nice ring to it, you know?
It does. It does. And speaking of that, millennial generation. They say, oh, our generation wants gun control. Our generation doesn't want guns. We want the guns everywhere. We're afraid of guns, blah, 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 blah. I talked about last time, I played the O'Reilly cut where he said, we have a right to defend ourselves. And you know what? People use that right in this country all the time. They use that right, they defend themselves, and it works. It helps protect them against the bad guys. And a lot of times they would have had no other recourse if they did not have a gun. And I have some stories here about that. And it's only a few. Wasn't hard to find. There's tons of stories. It happens all the time. Of course, it's never talked about. And we think, oh, if we got rid of guns, we'd just solve everything. You know how many women in this country would be left completely vulnerable without the right to have a gun? They don't have any other way to protect themselves. It's amazing. But there was a story here recently. It was actually off campus at UCF. Young people were being robbed, and they had the right to protect themselves, and they used it. I have the audio of the story. This is from January this year, but I thought I'd play it again because it doesn't get as much attention as, say, mass shootings. But it shows how good people with a gun can stop bad people from doing bad things. And here's the story.
22-year-old Nor Scargi still has marks from Tuesday night's armed burglary.
Yeah, they grab your neck pretty hard.
A little before 6 p.m.
I hear a quick aggressive knock at the door. I go and look out the peephole.
Two men pushed their way through the UCF student's apartment at the Village of Alafaya Club not far from campus.
He grabbed me by the throat. He took me like a little farther into the living room and pushed me down and said, don't move, just stay down.
He says a second suspect had a black hoodie and a gun.
He came in with the gun, he put it to my head, and he says, just don't move. They kept me on the ground, and they didn't realize my girlfriend was in her room. And thank God she was in her room and not with me in the living room. So, I yelled, I said, hey, grab the gun.
I freaked out, but my first thought, I need to get the gun. I need to protect us. So I quickly closed my door and locked it to give me some extra time to grab the gun.
The photo shows how the bad guy kicked her bedroom door down. UCF student Sable Nemi says the burglar was just inches from her face.
He immediately, when he saw the gun, he turned right back around, darted out, and both of them fled the apartment.
Her boyfriend grabbed her gun and went after them.
They dropped the gun as they were running. It ended up being a fake gun, pellet gun.
If we had no gun, it would have been game over. They were bigger than me, bigger than both of us, obviously. We had no way of stopping them. The gun was the one thing that made them run.
Listen to what he said. Listen to that quote. If we had no gun, it would have been game over. Now think of, that girl was cute. And as Mike said,
she got like 10 times hotter after I heard the story and saw what she looked like.
Heard the story. Not only was she cute, but the idea of, grabbing a gun and getting rid of some bad guys is, what were your words? What was your exact word?
What a badass.
Exactly. Yeah, so yeah.
She's tiny too. She's not a big girl.
But in the story they say, oh, the intruder was inches from her face. What he could have done to her if she didn't have a gun. What way would she have to protect herself?
They claim that the guys were much bigger than them, too. I mean,
yeah.
What else could she have done?
Nothing. And those guys could have done anything to her. And stuff like this can happen all over the place. But it doesn't happen all over the place because ordinary people have the right to protect themselves. This affects us just as much as it affects the older generation as well. In fact, I have a story here where an 11-year-old actually.
An 11-year-old?
Yeah. Now, she used her parents' guns or whatever, but an 11-year-old used a shotgun to scare an intruder away from their home. The 11-year-old was home. This was in, I believe it was in Michigan. The 11-year-old was home alone when a vehicle entered the driveway. The individual knocked on all the doors and then forced entry into the residence. The child hid in a bedroom closet with a shotgun. The bedroom and the closet were eventually forced open by the subject. The 11-year-old aimed the gun at the suspect, and the suspect fled from the residence.
What a badass.
I know. And they were talking about how she knew how to use the gun because the parents taught her, through hunting and other things, how to use a gun. But she was home alone. She was an 11-year-old. They could have done anything to her. They could have kidnapped her, whatever. But she was a good person with a gun. I'm not saying 11-year-olds should be able to conceal carry everywhere or anything in schools and stuff. But what I'm saying is...
Good disclaimer. Good disclaimer to throw in.
But what I'm saying is good person stopping a bad person with a gun. Another story I found, townhall.com. This was this week, and it was actually in Oregon, believe it or not. An Oregon man was bound by home invaders, but was able to break free and grab his gun, which possibly saved his life. He was able to break free, grab his gun, and scare off the two home invaders. It was two ladies, actually, but he was a senior citizen. He really couldn't fight back. But he broke free and did fight back. Scared him off with a gun. Story of a good guy with a gun. Somebody that could have potentially been killed by those home invaders. Another story here. Good Samaritan grabs his gun and holds bank robber at gunpoint until police arrive. Thanks to the efforts of a gun-toting Good Samaritan in Georgia, this was earlier this year in March, actually, a would-be bank robber is behind bars. A man whose name has not been released. When he saw another customer came in and present a teller with a demand note, he got his gun and stopped the bank robbers. The bank robbers were eventually arrested. It wouldn't have happened if this Good Samaritan, a law-abiding good person with a gun, stopped him. Another story. This is a couple of years ago, but I thought it was interesting. Man uses gun to protect 2-month-old son from armed robber. A man used his gun to protect himself. It was in Columbus, Ohio. He was in the driveway of his brother's house when a man approached him, put a pistol to his head, and demanded money. While Mr. Smith handed him the money, he also drew his weapon. The robber grabbed the money and ran, but he turned around and pointed the gun at Mr. Smith and his baby. Mr. Smith quickly shot the robber while shielding his baby from the robber. They eventually caught the guy because he had to go to the hospital because he was shot. That's a good guy with a gun. Was able to stop bad guys. There's tons of stories like this out there. I see them all the time. But they're never talked about. And I get it. I'm not saying they have to be talked about. What I'm saying is I'm trying to give you some perspective. This is a different way to give you some perspective on this issue. The fact is, you have a right to protect yourself. The fact is, that's the only way you can stop mass shootings like this is individuals being able to protect themselves. Not only mass shootings, but terrorist situations. I mean, our military can't even carry guns in military facilities. How crazy is that? This is where we've come? And we expect that it's just going to stop gun violence? It makes no sense. If the mere presence of a gun created gun violence, there would be gun violence at every gun shop in the country every day. Every shooting range would have gun violence every day if the mere presence of a gun created gun violence. It doesn't make sense. But in the next segment, I want to get even to a bigger issue. I want to get into the idea what the founders wanted this for was another check on the government. I was recently reading a book by Glenn Beck, Miracles and Massacres, Stories from Our History. And one story really fascinated me, And I thought about it this week. It was his local government became very corrupt. And they needed guns to be able to stop that. So I'm going to get to that in the next segment. You are listening to Beyond Reason Radio. By the way, the Beyond Reason Radio app is coming out next week. I'm going to push it everywhere. You can download the app and listen live via the app. So you can listen live on the website, you can listen live on Spreaker, and you can listen live via the app. Once I get that out next week, I'll tell you all about it. You're listening to Beyond Reason Radio, beyondreasonradio.com.
Listen to the latest episodes of Beyond Reason. Download the podcast at Spreaker.com.
All right, this is my opportunity to tell you about my favorite restaurant, and that is Doc's Street Side Grill. It's on 1315 West Orange Avenue, right across the street from ORMC, right outside of downtown Orlando. It's a great place to go. And by the way, we are having another debate viewing party. Bud and I will be at the next debate, the Democratic debate. We're going to be at all the debates, viewing the debates. So you'll get the analysis from us during the debate. The Democrat debate is going to be fun, actually. I want you all to join me because we'll get to yell at the Democrats when they make stupid comments during the debate. So that'll be good. But by the way, I want some millennials to come out there. I want people my age to come out there because they assume that you don't care, but I know you do. So I want you to come out for the debates as well. And by the way, I was at Doc's Grill yesterday, meeting with the great owner, Blaise Mercadante, and I had a margarita flatbread. No, it doesn't have like real margarita on it. It's got like Alfredo cheese and tomato, and it was good. I never had anything like that. And you know when you go to some restaurants and you have a flatbread, they're like tiny. This was big. It was filling. It was good. You got to go to Doc's Street Side Grill. Go to Doc's Street Side Grill for more information. Doc's Street Side Grill, your prescription for fun times.
Orlando's newest dining sensation, Doc's Street Side Grill, specializes in amazing flavors at prices you'll love. With special events and entertainment ranging from trivia to live bands to poker every evening, there's something for everyone. Doc's has amazing flavors that are always fresh. You know the motto, made today, bought yesterday. Doc's is located across from Orlando Regional Medical Center on South Orange Avenue. Check out DocStreetSideGrill.com for more info. Doc's is your prescription for good times. See you there.
Hey, this is Mike Yaffee from Bud Hedinger Live and Beyond Reason Radio, and I have a question for you. Are you planning on taking any long road trips this summer? Well, I have the perfect tool for you to make that trip go by a little bit faster. What you want to do is download the iHeartRadio app. With the iHeartRadio app, you can find your favorite music stations or create your own custom station. Don't forget to look up your favorite talk show hosts. You can find that on there as well. Make sure to download the app today at iHeartRadio.com.
If an individual student athlete or team wins a high school state championship, it's an amazing thing.
And it goes in! It goes in!
It's also just the icing on the cake. That's because young people in Florida who participate in education-based athletics are already winners. Studies show that win or lose, participation helps to impart skills they can use to enjoy greater success in other areas of their lives. School sports teach the benefits of teamwork, the value of self-motivation, and the importance of accountability. They also help to foster stronger work habits and higher levels of self-esteem. In other words, the true value of school sports can't be measured in terms of wins or losses. If an individual or team goes to state, it's an incredible accomplishment. But regardless of the outcome, today's student athletes are already destined to go far. School sports, a winning part of a complete education. This message presented by the Florida High School Athletic Association and the Florida Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Hey, it's the Budman inviting you to join Yaffee and me for WFLA's next big presidential debate viewing party at Doc's Street Side Grill. Hillary and the Democrats debate Tuesday, October 13th. Come on in for dinner and some fun at 6, then stay for the debate and watch them squirm under the pressure. Doc's Street Side Grill, 1315 South Orange Avenue across from ORMC. More online at DocStreetSideGrill.com or call 407-841-3601. See you at Doc's for the Democrats debate Tuesday, October 13th.
Download the iHeartRadio app and catch the Beyond Reason Radio podcast.
Yes, the podcast is available practically on every major podcasting platform you can think of. I'm up to 15 followers on the TuneIn Radio app, so that's good. Go to TuneIn Radio. You can also follow us there. You can listen on iHeartRadio. The podcast is there. You can go to the website and listen, beyondreasonradio.com. You can listen on Stitcher. You can listen on SoundCloud. You can listen on Spreaker. All these podcasting platforms. And in this week, you can also listen on Podbean, another one, podbean.com. Listen to the podcast on there as well. You can also listen on YouTube. I put all the shows up on YouTube, pretty much anywhere, and of course iTunes as well. Anywhere that there's a major podcasting platform or some platform like that, you can listen to the show. So listen to the podcast in there. If you miss any of the show, if you like it, share with your friends. Tons of different ways to share with your friends. So that's where we're going. A lot of exciting things coming up. Next week, I will unveil the Beyond Reason Radio app. You'll just be able to search both app stores, search Beyond Reason Radio, and get the app. And you'll be able to listen live via the app or download the podcast via the app as well. So I talked about in the last segment how the Second Amendment helps us protect ourselves. But it also helps, it's also a check against government tyranny. And we don't like to hear that. We think that's not possible, but it is possible. And it is a check on government tyranny. And we think, oh, that'll never happen. It has happened. What I want you all to do over the weekend, and I know a lot of you might not like Glenn Beck, that's fine. But his book, Miracles and Massacres, it's good. It's a history book. And he has a story in there, and unfortunately I don't have it in front of me, so I don't have all the names and details and everything. But I'm just going to give you a general outline of the story. One of the stories, it's a true story in the book. So you can go get his book on Amazon. Just go to the library. I'm sure it's there as well, and get it and read this story if you want to know the details of what I'm talking about. But this is a great example of this, of protecting against government tyranny. Shortly after World War II, there was a World War II vet who was living in a small town. When he got back from the war, the sheriff's office in his small town was very corrupt. And literally, they would arrest vets for nothing. They would arrest them overnight, and why would they do this? Because they wanted money. So they would get the bail money. They would come up with some stupid excuse to arrest someone, and they kept doing this in this town. And they were doing it to vets, and they were doing it to everybody, and they just wanted money, and there was nothing anyone could do. So, okay, they decided they were going to run for office, and they had one of the vets run for sheriff against the sheriff's office. Well, that sounds good, but the sheriff's office was so corrupt that when they did a lot of voter intimidation. In fact, during the election, they would call, people running and people voting for the wrong person and threaten them and their families. But not only that, but one thing they would do is they would take the ballots, the box of votes, and they would count them in the sheriff's office behind locked doors without anybody checking. So obviously there was a ton of election fraud. There was no way to stop this from happening. The sheriff's office owned the town. And this is how they would count it. And there was nothing anyone could do. Well, the vets had enough of this. Not only did they run against that sheriff's office to try to get that sheriff, the main sheriff, out of office so they could get rid of the corruption, the sheriffs tried to do the same thing. They tried to take the voting ballots. They tried to count them in the sheriff's office so no one could look, and they could have the voter fraud. And they tried intimidation, and they tried all this stuff. But you know why they were not successful? Because those vets had guns. And those vets stormed that sheriff's office, and they made sure they took those ballots, and they made sure they were counted correctly. And yes, there was some violence, but it had to be done. Because you imagine if these vets didn't have, the sheriffs are going to have guns. Imagine if these vets didn't have the guns. That's government tyranny. That's on a local small town level. But they were able to take their city back because they had guns. And there wasn't a lot of deaths or anything. Luckily, there wasn't really any deaths. In fact, before the election, there was a black man who tried to vote, and the sheriff said, "Oh, you can't vote." And the black man's like, "I'm going to vote." The sheriff shot him. Luckily, he survived. But this is what I mean. This is government tyranny at its best. But because we're an armed citizenry, and we had World War II vets, they stood up and they took their city back. Eventually, they counted the ballots, and that sheriff was thrown out of office, and there was a good sheriff put in. And this is because good people had guns. It's not a pretty story. It's not a story anyone wants to hear. We think it's not possible. This happened in this country right after World War II, not that long ago. It can happen. It's another check. And the reason why that kind of corruption doesn't happen more is because we have an armed citizenry. It's supposed to be another check on the government. We say, oh, you have to live in the 21st century. If you think corruption and government takeover is not possible in the 21st century, you're mistaken. All you have to do is read history, people. In fact, I have another book that I had, and we had this guy on Bud's show not too long ago. One of the first things the Nazis did when they got in power was they took away guns. Why? So because they couldn't fight back once they started taking over and being tyrannical. And we talk about, okay, but we won't have mass murders like this anymore if we take away all the guns, if we get rid of we confiscate law-abiding citizens' guns. Have you heard of the Rwanda genocide? The Rwanda genocide. I don't know if you've ever seen. Have you ever seen that movie, Hotel Rwanda?
I believe I saw that movie a while ago when it came out.
Yeah, that's a good movie that talks a lot about this genocide.
Brings a lot of light to it.
Exactly. Do you remember what the weapon of choice was to those committing the genocide? It was machetes.
It was a machete, right?
Yeah, they brought in a ton of machetes and they used them to kill people. And those people had no way to protect themselves. That wasn't guns. Now, the only thing that stopped them was the competing government, or the competing military was able to stop them with guns. But it's just another example. You don't need guns to commit mass numbers of people, to kill mass numbers of people. I could go over story after story after story like this. I'm just trying to give you some perspective here. Because all we do now, and I've talked about this before too, all we do now, it seems, is we react. Something happens and we just emotionally react. We don't think about the real consequences of what we're doing, the real consequences of the future of this country. Do you not understand that we're a free country? But just imagine the idea that they confiscated everybody, law-abiding citizens' guns, if they could even do it, if they did it. We can no longer defend ourselves against a tyrannical government. And it doesn't even have to be our government. Let's say we're invaded one day. Oh, that's impossible. Read history, people. None of this is impossible. The Japanese, one reason they did not invade, the main continental United States in World War II, they were afraid to do it, is because they knew the citizens had guns. Think about this. Why are you willing to give up your sacred liberty out of fear all the time? And why do you think guns in the hands of a government is automatically better? It's not. They're not going to always be there to protect you, and they're not always going to be good. Think about the big picture of this stuff. Please don't allow the government to fear you into constantly taking away your liberty. Because all you have to do is read history and know that this stuff is possible. That we need every check we can to preserve our property, to save ourselves, to protect ourselves, and to protect our country and our liberty. Because it's fragile. And the founders knew that. And that's a big reason why the Second Amendment was in there. Notice it's the Second Amendment. That's how important it was. They thought it was second behind freedom of speech and religion. And to assemble, they said, okay, and then you have to be able to have a gun. You have to. It's important. And by the way, I do live in the 21st century, and I'm going to continue to talk about this stuff. It affects all of us, even my generation. All right, in the next segment, I'm going to move on to a different topic. The culture of victimization. I've talked about that before, too. I found a story in the National Review where the guy lays out how it's killing manhood in this country. I completely agree. And it's amazing. You're listening to Beyond Reason Radio. By the way, make sure, submit your video. Go to facebook.com/Beyond Reason Radio. Submit your video and tell me what you think is beyond reason. Make sure to like us on Facebook first and then submit it there. You're listening to Beyond Reason Radio at beyondreasonradio.com.
If you like Beyond Reason Radio, well, make sure to show it by liking the Facebook page at facebook.com/Beyond Reason Radio.
Orlando's newest dining sensation, Doc's Streetside Grill, specializes in amazing flavors at prices you'll love. With special events and entertainment ranging from trivia to live bands to poker every evening, there's something for everyone. Doc's has amazing flavors that are always fresh. You know the motto, made today, bought yesterday. Doc's is located across from Orlando Regional Medical Center on South Orange Avenue. Check out DocStreetSideGrill.com for more info. Doc's is your prescription for good times. See you there.
Hey, this is Mike Yaffee from Bud Hedinger Live and Beyond Reason Radio, and I have a question for you. Are you planning on taking any long road trips this summer? Well, I have the perfect tool for you to make that trip go by a little bit faster. What you want to do is download the iHeartRadio app. With the iHeartRadio app, you can find your favorite music stations or create your own custom station. Don't forget to look up your favorite talk show hosts. You can find that on there as well. Make sure to download the app today at iHeartRadio.com.
If an individual student athlete or team wins a high school state championship, it's an amazing thing.
And it goes in! It goes in!
It's also just the icing on the cake. That's because young people in Florida who participate in education-based athletics are already winners. Studies show that win or lose, participation helps to impart skills they can use to enjoy greater success in other areas of their lives. School sports teach the benefits of teamwork, the value of self-motivation, and the importance of accountability. They also help to foster stronger work habits and higher levels of self-esteem. In other words, the true value of school sports can't be measured in terms of wins or losses. If an individual or team goes to state, it's an incredible accomplishment. But regardless of the outcome, today's student athletes are already destined to go far. School sports, a winning part of a complete education. This message presented by the Florida High School Athletic Association and the Florida Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Hey, it's the Budman inviting you to join Yaffee and me for WFLA's next big presidential debate viewing party at Doc's Streetside Grill. Hillary and the Democrats debate Tuesday, October 13th. Come on in for dinner and some fun at 6, then stay for the debate and watch them squirm under the pressure. Doc's Streetside Grill, 1315 South Orange Avenue across from ORMC. More online at DocStreetSideGrill.com or call 407-841-3601. See you at Doc's for the Democrats debate Tuesday, October 13th.
Subscribe to the Beyond Reason podcast today on your Stitcher app and hear the voice of reason anytime.
So there's a prediction that once again, maybe I'm right. I don't know. I told everybody a long time ago that I could see Al Gore eventually running for president again, maybe in this election. Al Gore, big global warming guy, for the Democrat nomination. Everyone thought I was crazy. Well, it turns out...
You did say that. I remember you saying it. I can back you up on that.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Michael. By the way, that is executive producer Michael Formerson, who is always joining me, beyondreasonradio.com. Yeah, thank you, Mike. But he was on Univision earlier this week during an interview, and he was basically asked, would you run for president? And he would not rule it out. He gave kind of off answers like, oh, I'm out of political office, but he wouldn't say directly, no, I would not run for president. He would not rule it out. He tried to skirt the question. He's thinking about it. I told you. I mean, when the world just realizes, Mike, that I'm right, it would just be a much better place, don't you think?
It would be less beyond reason.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. It would
More beyond reason would cause less beyond reason.
Thank you.
At least that's my theory.
Yes, exactly. And yes, I would have to change the name of the show or something.
Hashtag voice of the millennials.
Thank you, Mike.
A little subliminal messaging.
But it would just be a much better place. Okay, so I just had to throw that out there. I saw that out there this week, and I'm like, man, apparently I'm psychic or something. No, I'm not psychic. I just see things coming. So if you want to be on the cutting edge, you can hear all this stuff later, like O'Reilly. They'll repeat stuff I've said like weeks ago. You can just listen to this show first. Just listen to this show. Make sure to share with your friends as well. Okay. So I found a story in the National Review that I thought was very interesting. because it's another thing I've talked about before. And I want to know, Mike, especially you, what you think about this.
All right.
The article is titled "Victim Culture is Killing American Manhood." Killing American manhood, the victim culture. And he talks about it. I can't read the whole thing, but he talks about at one point in this culture, if you were like a man and someone, there was a bully or something, a parent would tell you, stand up for yourself, right? That's how you combat bullies. That's how you protect your honor, I guess, your dignity.
Right.
And then a point happened in this country where it kind of changed, where any kind of violence at all, even self-defense, became bad. So instead, we want higher authorities to take care of everything. We want higher authorities to kind of work things out for us.
I think that's a key phrase right there. Wanting the higher authorities to take care of everything.
Why is that? Why is
it
that
just seems to be a pattern lately, Don't worry about it. Let them worry about it type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. That's true. We're no longer learning to take care of ourselves. And I think that's a big thing with our gun culture as well, because one of the problems is if once we, say they allow guns on college campuses again, we've created a pop culture where we're taught to be afraid of guns, that all guns are bad. So a lot of kids would not even get a gun if they could, because it's just not taught anymore. We're not taught to protect ourselves. We're not taught to use that stuff anymore. We're taught to leave it to the higher authorities, who of course are not always going to be there. But he goes even further. He says the honor and dignity cultures, however, face new competition from another development, the victim culture. He says in victim culture, people are encouraged to respond to even the slightest unintentional offense, as in an honor culture, but they must not obtain redress on their own. They must appeal for help to powerful others or administrative bodies, to whom they must make the case that they have been victimized. This is the culture of microaggression, where everyone is a victim. Hypersensitivity is everywhere, he says. So now we're at a point where who's being praised? I've talked about this before. Who's being praised are the victims of society, that we're always looking for a reason to be a victim. And because we got rid of the honor culture, the way we deal with that is we go to the higher authorities for everything. And I think this is a big reason why we have the sue happy culture. That it seems like everyone's suing something for something. We're a victim and we have to sue. Instead of something just being an accident and letting it go, we sue.
It's the same thing, pulling the victim card.
Exactly. Yeah, you've had pulling the race card, you pull the victim card. It happens all the time. And his conclusion is that's killing our manhood, because there's no longer men just dealing with their problems. There's no longer men just sticking up for themselves, protecting themselves maybe. They're all victims, and they want somebody else to take care of them. Does that make sense, Mike?
I think it does.
Have you noticed this at all in maybe your generation, or do you think maybe it's a little crazy?
I don't think it's totally crazy. It's something you do notice. People always want to be. They don't. It comes with also ownership of there used to be a time where if you did something, you were cool with owning up to it. Now, everybody wants to look like not everybody, but a lot of people, they want to look like, oh, this can't be my fault. This has to be your fault. And that comes with, They
don't want to take responsibility for their own actions.
They don't want to take responsibility. And I think that also has to do part with the whole gun culture. Nobody wants to take responsibility anymore. Nobody wants to. They want to leave it to somebody else to take care of. And people don't like to take things into their own hands anymore. And for some things, that's fine.
Yeah.
But when it comes to
yeah, we're not talking Batman vigilante justice here.
No.
that would be cool. It'd be fun.
That'd be awesome. I would love to have a big spotlight on top of the building.
That's what, of all the Batman things, that's what you want? The spotlight, that's what you're looking forward to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody can see everywhere, all across Gotham. Anyway, so my point being is it's so much easier to just pull the card nowadays, to just be the victim and oh, poor me. And that's, yeah.
Okay.
It's just that's what I notice in today's generation.
And I think
that's what I've noticed.
And I think this actually goes even further. Let me know what you think of this. But do you think there is an attack on manhood in this country? On really being a man? I just noticed in pop culture that there's an attack on being a man. That we no longer want to be, I don't know, I see in pop culture that it's always the woman who's in charge. It's always the woman who is the smart one and the man is the dumb, silly one. But I just thought that was interesting, where there used to be a time where you stuck up for yourself, where you believed in yourself, and if you were a man, you stood up for yourself. You protected yourself. You took care of things on your own. I never see anyone take care of things on their own anymore. It's just something I wish we could get back. Now, it's interesting. This is kind of going off topic a little bit, but Mike, first off, what's your answer? Do you think there's an attack on manhood in this country?
Attack on manhood?
Is that an extreme, beyond reason position?
I don't want to say entirely. It seems that way.
Come on.
It definitely seems that way.
Come on, it's true.
Maybe
that
a
being
little
a man's
bit.
Man isn't
yeah,
cool
no, it's definitely
anymore.
not what it used to be. And absolutely not. And
I'm not even sure what it's supposed to be anymore.
Yeah, me either. It's supposed to be let someone else do it, like I said. If the old culture is the being the man culture, where you, like you just said, stand up for what you believe in, do what you have to do to
take care of yourself and your family and your girlfriend or wife or something.
Exactly. And I do believe that we're in a new culture where that's not the way of things anymore.
Yeah, we have to get back to that because it's beyond reason.
Yeah, because everybody wants to be a real man's man.
Yes. You know what I've been watching lately on Netflix?
What's that?
That 70s show.
I love that 70s show.
You know who's my favorite character on that show?
You're going to say Red.
Yeah. He's awesome. I kind of miss that. I kind of like that he's like, look, I'm going to take care of stuff. Now, obviously, he goes a little crazy sometimes. It's the comedy.
You like having a foot in your ass?
Yes. No. But I just like that, when something needs to be taken care of, he takes care of it.
He is the man's man.
He's the man's man. Now, sometimes he's a little insensitive. Sometimes he's not. Just because you're a man doesn't mean you can't say I love you or something like that. He's
still
definitely
have a heart.
Yeah, he still have a heart. But there's something about, if I was like his son, I would feel safe. I would feel like, you know what? This kind of thing is this. My home would feel safe that my dad is going to take care of things. He's going to take care of the family. He's going to protect us. At least we know where he stands on stuff. There's no middle ground. There's no wishy-washiness. So, yeah. Well, by the way, I thank you all for listening to the first ever exclusively online edition of Beyond Reason Radio here at BeyondReasonRadio.com. Make sure, submit your video post at Beyond Reason Radio at Facebook.com/Beyond Reason Radio. At Facebook.com/Beyond Reason Radio. Submit your video. Tell me what you think is beyond reason. And by the way, stay on. You'll get to update on the latest, and I'll tell you when the Beyond Reason Radio app will be available. And I will catch you guys next episode.